Iowa State is better than Arizona on paper, but this game isn't being played on paper. It's being played on the gridiron. If Iowa State doesn't execute at least one of these keys to victory out there on the gridiron, they're not coming away with the win. We're going to break down what those keys are today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you for being here every single day. Make this your first watch or listen of the day. I appreciate it more than you know. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to hit subscribe so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone State. Today, we're talking about keys to victory on the offensive side first, then we'll pivot over to the defensive side. And then finally, for today's show, we're going to round out how big is this game? Is it bigger for Iowa State? Is it bigger for Arizona? What lies ahead for both of these teams if they win, if they lose? It's a big one going down in Ames. Can't wait to dive into all of that and more. But first, this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. This weekend, there will be tens of thousands of fans dressed head to toe in white to create an environment unlike any other, a deafening atmosphere under the lights, and it's going to be something to be held. I think that's how you would phrase it. No, I am not talking about Beaver Stadium out east. I am talking about Jack Trice Stadium in Ames, Iowa, where the Wildcats are going to be coming in to face the Cyclones. And look, like I said, Iowa State is the better team in basically every way, shape, and form, in my opinion, going into this game. I think Iowa State is better. Period. But they've got to actually go out and prove that to me. Yes, Iowa State has had some games this season early on that they're relatively solid wins. They are obviously 4-0, so they're all wins. But Iowa, Kansas State, it's just, what are those actually worth? I need to see it in Big 12 play, and this is the opportunity for Iowa State to do that. Offensively, I think Iowa State has the edge here, but it's not by a whole lot. I'm not going to lie. After diving into Arizona, I certainly was impressed by what the Wildcats have to offer. So let's talk about Iowa State's keys to victory on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, that means they'll be facing Arizona's defense. I've got a few here that are, I think, just absolutely key. Key. They are vital to Iowa State winning this game. For one, I think Rocco has to have a clean pocket. Now, doesn't mean that Rocco can't survive a couple plays here and there where he's got to extend the play or he's got to have to, make some magic or whatever the case is. That's not what I'm saying. But the majority of this game, I think Iowa State needs to provide a clean pocket, for Rocco Becht. Now, one of the key stats going into this game, as far as why I'm bringing this up, is Rocco Becht has been very, very good against standard rushes. PFF has him graded at 13th best in the nation right now. Pretty solid. But once he's blitzed and he feels that pressure, drops down to 71st. So I want to see a clean pocket around Rocco. Is that too much to ask? I do wonder if we switch into like maybe a 22 personnel a couple times during this game, bring out both running backs, use one for protection, have one as a passing option out of the backfield, whatever. There was a couple plays in the Arizona-Kansas State game where it looked like Kansas State tried to chip with the running back, and it didn't quite work out. Look, Arizona is going to be coming for Rocco's head the entire night. That's just a fact of the matter. Whoever we've got back there in the backfield as extra protection is going to have to suit it up. They're going to have to strap them up extra tight because Arizona is not playing around, and they're going to try to bury Rocco every chance they get. So if we can pick up those extra blitzers who are running like their hair is on fire, I think Rocco can complete a few extra passes. I really do. Rocco, through the air this season, has been really solid, and we'll talk about Noah Fafita at some point here, but Rocco so far thrown 860 yards through 4 games, 65 of 100. Makes that math really easy. 65% completion on the year with a long as 66. 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. Rocco's been good. Rocco has been very good for Iowa State. And I was talking with some listeners on Twitter yesterday about, which wide receivers are going to step up. And we certainly have seen some drops up until this point. I don't love that. I do wonder if it'll be Eskelson over the top. Will it be Xavier Townsend over the top? Or will it be Dom Overby? Who is going to stretch the field for Iowa State in this one? The question is basically a moot point if Rocco Becht is being either dragged out of the pocket or is being brought down immediately. Like, it doesn't matter who's downfield because they're not getting the ball. So that question, while completely valid, I want to see Rocco protected before I even begin to start answering that question. Now, let's say that Rocco's protected. I kind of think it's going to be Eskelson. I kind of actually want to lean Xavier Townsend even before I go to Overby. But we've had a whole bye week. Maybe there's been some developments in that wide receiver room. That's not really where my keys to victory lie. All right, whichever wide receiver it is, I do think Iowa State needs to stretch the field a little bit because Arizona does feel like a team that we can get through the air if we get lucky once or twice in this one. However, the rest of that game, offensively, I want to see some misdirection from Iowa State. Nothing too fancy, nothing too cute. I'm talking to you, Taylor Mauser, but I wouldn't hate a little bit of play action being incorporated, maybe a little bit more than normal. Maybe some read options, right? Give Rocco the ball on a design run here or there, not just the sneaks, but potentially watching to see if that edge is going to crash, fake the handoff to Hansen and have him take it off up the outside, up the outside. I think that's very possible. I think that Arizona plays with so much intensity and so much initial read that misdirection is going to get them a few times in this one. Now, is it literally, if you run a read option, you're going to blow up this defense every single play? I don't think that's the case. But I do think that if you mix it in, you're going to have a few go for 8 or 9 yards as opposed to a 2 or 3 yard run. I don't hate that. And maybe it isn't even with Rocco, right? You can also run, you can basically run, what was it, Purdue? No, it wasn't Purdue. It was the Lions. Hand it off to Sama, and you've got Carson Hansen coming in motion, or Xavier Townsend. Use the utility guy. I want to see misdirection in this one. I think that's going to be a big point where Iowa State can make up some ground here. I also want to see zone run. I think that's how we've got to block this scheme. I know that this is like getting super technical, so I won't talk on this for a ton of time here, but the way that Arizona runs their stunts on the defensive line and the way they run their linebackers, it's just got to be blocking general areas. I don't want to see any fancy schemes getting up to the second level or like anything. Just run it and block that general area. I think that's how you're going to have to break some runs. And then finally, my last point here, I need to see them finish drives, okay? And by that, I mean one of two things. Your drives need to end in the end zone, if it's a long drive, of course, but singular plays need to end in the end zone. If we get an opportunity and Carson Hansen rips off some 65-yarder, it better be that he was on Iowa State's 35. That's how it has to be. Do the math. 65 yards puts him in the end zone versus if he's on our 20, 65 yards, we're not in the end zone yet. If we're breaking plays, we've got to finish. We've got to get it in the end zone, I think, especially when you consider our kicking situation, which I do think Iowa State still has the better special teams. I'm not saying that, but I don't want to leave it up to the field goal kicker either. Like, let's just put it in the end zone, get more points, and move on. I think Iowa State's got the offensive firepower here. I think we've got the offensive line to get it done. My main concern, honestly, is can the wide receivers catch the ball? And that's not a bad problem to have in the grand scheme of things. Like, of all the problems to have, I don't hate that one because they're still getting open and Rocco's still putting the ball in the right spots. You just got to catch it. It's like the easiest part of the equation. So if you had one problem, I wouldn't, that would be one that I'm okay with. And I feel like that's where I am at with this offense. I like where they're at going into this game. Just got to knock those things out. I need a clean pocket for Rocco. I need some misdirection in this game. Zone reads, potentially a little bit of flip outside, whatever it is, reading a defender. I want to force them into positions. I want to see some zone run blocking, and I need to see the offense finish drives, whether it's singular plays, 65-yard touchdowns, need to be touchdowns and not 65-yard runs. And I also need to see these long drives that are developing, ending in the end zone, not kicking from the 20, period. That's, I think, the keys to victory offensively for Iowa State. But defensively, I mean, offense wins you games, defense wins you championships. We're going to break that down coming up here in just 1 second. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Iowa State, obviously the bye last week, but I'm going to say that Aiden Flora delivered in a big way. If he is coming back for Iowa State this upcoming weekend, that's electricity in a bottle. And what we've seen up until this point in the season from Aiden Flora has me super excited. And the fact that he did enough during this bye week to get himself healthy and come back, I like that a lot. I love that, actually. So just like Aiden Flora delivered for Iowa State getting ready to come back, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. And with DoorDash Streaks, you save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I personally love using FanDuel because it fits however I want to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay. I'm going to be honest, a lot of times I miss the kickoff. So I got to jump in live as the action unfolds, and FanDuel makes that possible. It's quick, it's easy. It's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Offensively, I think Iowa State's better than Arizona, period. I do. I genuinely think that. There are some keys to victory, as we mentioned, but I think they're better. Defensively, I almost think it's two different animals. They're very different in the way that they operate. And we're going to break it down here on Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, I hate to do some sort of animal comparison because I'm just 100% certain that everyone's going to have an opinion on it down in the comments below. And I want to see opinions on Iowa State, Arizona, not on rhinos versus cheetahs, but you get what I'm saying. You could compare two random animals, and I think it's best to probably pick a flying animal and a land animal. So like, let's say an eagle and a rhino, okay? Two different styles of surviving out in the wild, but they both get it done. Iowa State and Arizona, I think two different styles of defense, yet both are relatively competent, okay? Arizona obviously hasn't played, in my opinion, the same caliber of teams that Iowa State has, but they've still looked pretty good defensively. I will give them that. The biggest thing for me is that they play with their hair on fire. Iowa State doesn't really do that. I think Iowa State plays a little bit more methodical. Will that be enough to stop Arizona? There are a few key points of emphasis that Iowa State has to knock out, in my opinion, to win this game, to get it done in their way. First off, Dom Orange just needs to clog up the middle. It's not only going to be Dom, I get that. But the way that this defense is structured, we need to basically just put a big old cork in the middle of this offensive line. Don't let them run it between the guards. Definitely do not let them run between the guards. Don't let them run between the tackles, honestly. Make them stretch it out wide. Now, Arizona has very good running backs. Very good running backs. Ismail Ahmadi went off against Kansas State. Off. 22 carries for 189 yards. Didn't get in the end zone either. Nuts. He's very good. Quincy Craig also has been killing it this season. A dangerous weapon for sure. Not quite the same stats as Ismail Ahmadi, but went 7 for 125 against Hawaii. So look out for him as well. Those two dudes are going to be a danger to Iowa State. And I think they're best up the middle. I think they can do it on the outside as well. But if we can effectively use Dom Orange to plug the middle and have, in some capacity, I know this isn't entirely how it works, but 10 guys to guard the edges, I like where Iowa State is at. Now, that's a lot to ask of Dom Orange, but I'm not going to lie. That's kind of what I feel like he's been doing this season, just clogging up the middle. Basically, I mean, his stats aren't even that crazy right now. He's very, very good, but his stats aren't like jumping off the page to me right now because I feel like he's just clogging things up. And that leads me to my next point. The linebackers need to show up in this one, period. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. With the defensive line effectively clogging things up, let's just say hypothetically that happens. We need linebackers that are going to be flying to the, what would that be, like the C gaps? Is it C gaps? The way outside the tackles. Because if they're going to stretch runs out there, if they're going to bounce them out there, it can't be a sprint race. Like, it can't be that. You've got to be already kind of there. You've kind of already got to see that coming, flying down. I don't even want to see a banana type of run, the safety position, they say to banana out. No, I want to see just beeline for that position. Hold the edge there. I think that's going to be key because not only could we see it from the running backs, but Noah Fafita, I think, will also potentially be sprinting out to the outside the pocket to extend plays. Now, is it because he's extremely short and needs to be able to see down the field? Potentially, but he can also throw it from inside the pocket. I wonder if sometimes it'll be a designed run. The kid can run. We don't see it a ton, but the kid definitely can run. Right now, he is the fifth leading rusher is what I've got, 28 rushes for 37 yards. So it's kind of a similar to Rocco's situation. Like, Rocco just doesn't do it a whole lot. If Noah Fafita, from what I've seen against other teams this season, Iowa State struggling against running quarterbacks, even against Mark Gronowski, if Noah Fafita gets the opportunity outside the pocket, he's just going to take off. Like, I'm pretty sure it was literally the first play against Kansas State. He will do it. And that is a perfect segue to, I think Iowa State does need to incorporate some linebacker spies. We can't be waiting all game. We did this a little bit against Arizona State or Arkansas State, excuse me. We can't be doing that. We got to put that in the playbook right away. We cannot be letting, if Noah Fafita is going to beat us, it has to be through the air. And that's where he's very good. So I understand that that's a bit of a problem. They don't really want to go that way and make him do something he's relatively good at. But I just don't want to see him with his legs because I trust Iowa State's secondary to break up the passes, get the interceptions, whatever, more than I trust our defense against a running quarterback, effectively, is what I'm saying there. That being said, Noah Fafita through the air, 712 yards through 3 games, 59% completion percentage. This is the stat that stood out to me. When I looked at Noah Fafita's stat line, 46 to 78, 712, 59%. That's an average of 9.1, long 85, 6 touchdowns, 7 sacks. Okay. What does Rocco Becht have? Well, how many times has Rocco Becht been sacked? 6 times. Okay. Relatively even, right? This is the number that stood out. Sack yards lost. Noah Fafita, 70. Rocco Becht, 41. 1 extra sack, 30 or 29 more yards lost. If Iowa State's able to get to Noah Fafita, which I trust that they will be able to, I do wonder if they'll have to bring linebacker help. Goes back to my point of linebackers are going to have to step up. But if they're able to get to Noah Fafita, I think that's going to be a relative. I don't think I would ever go into a game and say sacks are going to be the key to victory because it's like, that's like saying a tackle for loss. Yeah, obviously you want to tackle him for loss every single play. Pressure on the quarterback, I think, is a valid key to victory. Sacks, I don't know if I would ever say a sack is a key to victory because that's what they're trying to, to me, that doesn't feel like the right answer. But maybe that's just how my brain works. If Iowa State does get a sack in this game, though, the way that the stats lay it out, they're going to be pretty big sacks. That's going to be big. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying that they need to get sacks, but I would say I wouldn't be upset about it. Finally, here, a couple extra points. I think they need to hold Arizona to field goals. Arizona struggled against Kansas State, 3 of 6, like we talked about. If you can force them to kick 6 field goals and Jack Trice is going to be insanely loud, that's a good spot to be in. I would rather be in that spot than them scoring, obviously. Makes complete sense. I just think that they can get a little bit of an edge there. And finally, the penalty game. I've got it right here. Iowa State, 12 penalties for 108 yards, and I think a few of those were complete BS. I'm going to be completely honest with you, a few of those penalties. Arizona has 25 penalties for 190 yards. Look, send this to anybody you know who's going to the game. Go to the game and be loud. Don't react to 60-yard plays and get up and yell, woohoo, go Cyclones. No, I need screaming with 40 seconds left on the play clock. That is how loud Jack Trice has to be. I know it's capable of being like that. I was at the whiteout game last year, one of the greatest environments I've been at, and I've been to both major whiteout games, Penn State and Iowa State. It's right up there, but you got to be loud, force the false starts. I do think that if Iowa State can clog up the middle and force plays around the outside, if Ike and Tama can do their jobs, I think we're going to get a lot of holding penalties from those tackles. I think that's not like a key to victory because obviously on the very next play where there's not a penalty, Arizona could rip it for 40. That's not a key to victory and hope on what the refs are going to do. I understand that. I can already read the comments. I'm not going to plan on the refs. I'm never going to scheme around the refs. I'm not saying that, but it's definitely going to play a factor. And I think the crowd is only going to help with that, in my opinion. So, yeah, go to the game, have fun, but be loud. Support the boys that are, I guess, in this game, going to be wearing white and black. Well, all white, essentially. That's going to be an atmosphere. And I do wonder if penalties will play a role. Not key to victory. Very clear on that. Not a key to victory. Obviously, you never rely on the officials, but could play a role. Very much could. All right, let's talk about how big this game is for Arizona and Iowa State, mostly Iowa State, because you're here with Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward for those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward for Iowa State, we're going to go all the way back to the Arkansas State game, was Trey Bell and that interception. Look, you could go Xavier Townsend down the sideline. What a throw from Rocco Becht. No. I think the interception from Trey Bell was a breath of fresh air for this Iowa State team. Really got them back into the game mentally, in my opinion. That's just how I perceived it. And we love the Trey Bell interception around here. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. This is a massive game, not only for Iowa State, but also for Arizona. An undefeated showdown under the lights at Jack Trice Stadium, a whiteout. This game could not be any bigger. And I did not foresee this game being massive here at Locked On Cyclones, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day before the season. I thought Arizona was going to be stinky. And I will admit that. I was very open about that. I no problem saying that. I did not think Arizona was going to be good. They are better than they were last season. I will give them that. They currently sit at 3-0. They've defeated Kansas State, not a conference matchup, right? That was planned 10 years ago. They have defeated Hawaii. They have defeated Weber State. They haven't faced anybody like Iowa State. And I already seen the comments. They dominated Kansas State. Iowa State got lucky against those Wildcats. They can't handle these Wildcats. I don't think that's true at all. I just got done talking for 20 minutes about what I think Iowa State can do and easily can do to dominate Arizona. I definitely think that they can win this game pretty handedly. But is this a bigger game for Arizona or Iowa State? Well, to me, it's Iowa State. And I can, it's Locked On Cyclones. So we will be pretty quick about this because I do have some other points on this game that we might get to. But we're looking at a potential 5-0 start for the Cyclones for back-to-back years. Like, this is the turning point a little bit for Iowa State. Coming out of the bye, how do you, obviously Arizona coming off the bye as well, how did you prepare? How did you mentally get ready for this game? Did you hold your habits? Is this team now a Big 12 contender of a football team? Because a non-Big 12 contender might come out lackluster out of the bye. A non-Big 12 contender might let this one slip away, even if they're the better team. The Big 12 contender won their clunker, and then they took that week to look internal and say, hey, this is what we can do better. This is where we can improve. And then they go into the weekend, and they basically get that free day, no game day. Now they go into the next week, still holding those habits. We've now gone over a week without a game, right? This is a little bit different than what we've been experiencing the last month. We go through this week. We still hold our habits. We're still eating the right food, getting to practice and meetings and rehab on time, prehab, if you will, probably for a lot of these guys. Getting the right amount of sleep, like going to class, holding all of those high caliber almost said talents, habits in check. That's what a Big 12 championship caliber team does. How do they come out of the bye? I think this is a prove it point for Arizona. Absolutely. Show that last year wasn't who they are. This year they're in it to win it, whatever. You're going to get the best from Arizona. Look, Iowa State's going to get the best from every team the rest of the season. That's just what it is. And I like it. I do. But you got to be mindful of that. So, yes, you're going to get Arizona's best. This is a prove it game for them as well, but Iowa State, you got to show up here. Under the lights, just looking at what Jack Trice has been at home, or what, I guess that's a terrible way to word it, but what Iowa State's been at Jack Trice over the last few matchups, how many points they've given up. Iowa State's selling out every game at home to start this season. Like, we're on the upwards trajectory. You got to win this game. You have to win this game. It's literally a must win. And more so even outside of the college football playoffs or a Big 12, title push or whatever. I'm sure Iowa State could drop this game. And hypothetically, I actually can lay out a scenario in which they still make the college football playoff as an at-large bid. If they win out, even if they lose the Big 12 championship, if they win out, lose the Big 12 championship, this is their only other loss. There's a world where they get in. Probably need a little bit of help because it's the Big 12, but there's a world where they get in. That's not how I mean it. I mean, this is a win that the program needs. This is a win that Matt Campbell needs. This is a win that Rocco Becht needs. I think this is a great opportunity to get some of those guys that we have been waiting to get involved. Where is Chase Sowell in this game? Where is Xavier Townsend in this game? This is like, to me, a Taylor Mauser legacy game. How is Taylor Mauser going to attack this Arizona defense? A very tricky defense. Not your average, typical run-of-the-mill defense. This is a challenge for an offensive coordinator. How does Taylor Mauser handle that? I think he's been good this season. I definitely think there are areas where he can improve, but I think he's been good. This is a game where, are we sitting here scratching our heads on Monday saying, what was that play call on second and 3 from their 20? Why in the world? Why would we call that? Or are we sitting here saying basically nothing about the offensive play calling? Because if you're saying nothing, it's probably a good thing. More than likely. Now, there are going to be situations where saying something is better. Whoa, that was a crazy play call. What a situational awareness type of play call. Yeah, those happen too. But that's the question for Taylor Mauser. And I think that's going to be key. On defense, are we going to be able to get to Fafita with 3? Does Heacock potentially adjust mid-game? Maybe faster than we did against Arkansas State? Like, this is a huge game for Iowa State. I'm not saying that this is the only big game that Iowa State's had in the last 5 years, but you can't sit here and tell me this is a throwaway. It's not. This is a huge game for Iowa State. And I think more so even for the coaching staff than for the players, honestly. Like I said, I think that this team specifically could still make the college football playoff as an at-large bid, even if they drop this game. And even if they drop the Big 12 championship game. I think there's a path. This coaching staff, where is Iowa State as a program? Where are they when they come off a bye? Where are they in the Big 12? I think those questions are going to be challenged this weekend. How many fans are still there in the fourth quarter? Like, if you're winning by 50, that's not a metric I care about. But if you're not, that is something like, where are you at with the fan base? I think that this game is going to be enormous. And I think that Iowa State fans are going to show up. I do. Sold out. I've already seen a ton of posts on the interwebs that have me feeling quite hopeful. I really have. But where are they in the third quarter? Where are they in the fourth quarter? Do they believe in this team? I think right now you've got everyone under your arm. I think you've got them right where you want them. But how does this game end? That, I think, is going to be a very telltale indicator of Iowa State football and where the program is at right now. Is this a false up and to the right, or is this a true up and to the right? Not saying we're facing some world beater here. Not saying Arizona's Big 12 champion, in the making. They might be. They haven't lost yet. But still a lot of stakes in this one. A lot of stakes. That's just how I perceive it. What do you think? Let me know. What are your keys to victory for Iowa State? What are your predictions? I'll be coming out with my prediction and the actual number tomorrow, so be sure to come back for that. Probably a few more breakdowns, talk about specific players, where Iowa State can target them defensively, whatever. We'll get into all that tomorrow, into the nitty-gritty, but I want to know your takes in the comments below, at Nick_Marv on Twitter. You can find me there. Can't wait for this one. This one is gotta have it for Iowa State, and it's going to be electric, to say the least. That being said, until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.